Hey, Action Shelf listeners, before we jump into the show itself, we want to tell you about how you can get even more action in your life.
Mm.
That appeals to you,
More
listeners?
action. More action, you
More
say,
action, you
John.
say. Yes. If you go over to our Podbean patron page, that's patron.podbean.com/punchup. You can listen to Lisman and I watch, what's this? Good action movies.
Good action movies, you say?
That's right, a change of pace. We thought behind the paywall, let's give people something of quality. So
And give us something of quality.
I know, it's such a pleasure to do that. So twice a month, you and I will be doing commentary tracks that you can download for
Yes.
good action movies, all kinds of awesome stuff from a lot of our heroes like John Woo. And we've done stuff from the John Wick franchise and Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all the guys we never get to talk about on here.
Yeah, stuff we legitimately love and love to share with you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can listen to that as well as other cool exclusive content from the Punch Up Entertainment Network shows. Once again, the address for that is patron.podbean.com/punchup. And now, into the action.
The Action Show. The Action Show. The Action Show. The Action Show.
Welcome to the Action Shelf. The podcast celebrates the glory of B action movies. I'm John Campbell.
Michael Isman.
Oh, Listman, we continue our February video game Valentine's month here on the
yes.
show. Oh,
What a gift it's
what,
been.
What
Not
a
a good
gift.
gift,
What a
but
gift.
it is a gift.
As we've talked about, there is no better subgenre of film than the video game adaptation. They nail it
True.
every time. They're always so
Yes.
good with these properties.
That's my ongoing theory that there has not been a bad video game movie.
Not a one,
I don't,
not
I don't
ever.
believe it exists.
No, it really doesn't. And so we've continued to gift people with these by bringing on guests to the show. And joining us for the first time, I can't believe it's taken this long to get him on the show. Our friend Reed Morris is with us.
Well, hey everyone. hey, I'm
Welcome.
Reed Morris. Happy to be here. I'm not happy that we watched this thing, but I am happy to be here.
It is always, we always say this. It's like we have all of our friends on the show, and then we go, are they still our friends after they're on the show?
The line is getting thinner between
Yeah.
friendship and just mere acquaintance.
Yeah. Reed,
that's fair.
we gifted you with 2008's Far Cry, based on not the video game franchise, specifically the first video game in the Far Cry series, directed by it's kind of shocking it's taken us this long to get to him, Listman, the notorious Uwe Boll.
Yeah, and we were talking about this month in particular because we could have done a whole month on Uwe Boll bad video game adaptation movies.
Programming this month, it was really hard not to make every week an Uwe Boll movie, because he's just almost his entire career has been video game adaptations.
We know if he likes video games. Like, why is this his hill to die on?
Well,
you know?
he's moved out of it now, which is interesting. But yeah,
Okay.
At least I think
Now he's
he
into
has.
Period dramas. Is that kind of historical?
Yes,
historical
actually,
fiction?
we've talked about this. He made he did make a Holocaust movie, which I can't even begin to imagine. Must be god awful. He's gotten into more. He's been doing a series called Rampage, which is not based on the games.
Which again, you'd think because it's Uwe Boll, but no.
Yeah, no. But he seems to have gotten into satirical, almost political commentary thrillers. I think something in sort of in the. I mean, not to the quality of. I think he's going for that sort of John Carpenter vibe, where it's like I have things to say and I'll say it in a genre.
Okay.
But he shouldn't.
No, it's not the worst idea in the world to emulate like an incredibly successful and like influential filmmaker. You know what I mean? Like that's not necessarily the worst path to go.
No. Can I say I'm looking at his personal quotes on IMDb, and I think here's a very interesting one in which he said at one point, "I do not play video games at all."
Well,
So that might answer your question.
Answer. It certainly does. It really, really does.
Yeah,
It's weird. It doesn't show at all. He really captures the properties.
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
I
There's a
think
lot of care.
people
in
once
these
again in
films.
the level of quality that all these video game movies are at being so high, he really does it the best, does he not? I mean, he's given us such classics as House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale.
Yeah, classic. That's a classic Uwe Boll right there.
Classics right there. He's done what, 3 or 4 Blood Rains, and then I think 3 Dungeon Siege movies.
Yeah.
But just one Far Cry. Why?
I think Far Cry started making too much money, and I don't think you
Well,
could buy into it anymore.
The interesting thing when I've told people we were doing this, and Reed, I'll ask you that. Were you aware of this movie?
Yeah. Weirdly enough, when I was like, I want to say like 12 or whatever, I was Googling like fun action games for like my PlayStation, and Far Cry came up, and then it was like, it's Far Cry, and the Far Cry movie, I was like, there's a movie for this? I wonder if it's any good. And it's like, I haven't thought about this movie in 20 years at this point, almost.
Because the thing that's interesting about it is whenever I tell people, I'm like, we're doing the Far Cry movie, people go, there's a Far Cry movie? Because as you bring up, look, for the success of the game franchise, which is a big franchise, I mean, it's a big title that people know, for there to be a movie that hardly anyone's heard of and got basically no play is very interesting. And I think a lot of that comes down to another piece of trivia about this film is Uwe Boll got the rights to this when the game was still in development.
Right. Yeah.
He was on this way early. So basically, I like that they call him video game enthusiast Uwe Boll. We just heard that he isn't. But
he's very much not. Yeah.
One might assume he is based on the fact that he adapts so many of these.
Now, is this a Scott Pilgrim scenario where the rights to the movie were purchased before the thing came out, and so they kind of had to work in tandem with each other?
No, I think the movie. I think he had the rights, but I think the movie was made after the game had already come out.
Okay.
So the original Far Cry was developed, if I remember correctly, by was it the team that made Crysis,
right?
Yeah, Crytek.
Crytek.
Right? And then eventually that got purchased by Ubisoft,
Yes.
right? They no longer developed it because they were going to start developing Crysis. And in that time period, Uwe had got the rights to it because just hey, cool. It was cheap, right?
Right.
And in the same year that the Far Cry movie came out, Far Cry 2, the first Ubisoft version, developed version, came out. So in a weird tandem, here's the new game that we're doing, and here's the movie that's based on the first game.
What's weird about that is Far Cry 2 is, I think, where the series really started to pick up steam. A lot of attention was.
I'd say that's pretty
to
common
Far Cry 2.
in video games. Oftentimes, sequels are kind of where things get perfected in games, which are kind of different than movies in a lot of ways. I mean, although I think that's changing now. We're seeing better sequels, but it used to be a movie'd be great and then there'd be sort of an inferior sequel. I feel like games often, they improve with that second game, and it's usually, when you're talking about games, sometimes I think people who don't play them are often like, well, do I have to go back and play 1 and 2? And a lot of times you're like, no, just start with the third one or the fourth one or whatever the one that really locks into it is. But
very rarely do they have that. Even something like the Witcher video game series, you don't really need to jump into the earlier ones.
That's one of the first ones that comes to mind with. I definitely started on Witcher 3. like a lot of people did, because it was like, oh, I'm hearing this is great, and I kind of had that thing where it's like, people go like, you can play Witcher, although even finding Witcher 1 was impossible. Because I'm not a PC gamer, so it was sort of like there really isn't a Witcher 1 for me to play. So I do think that's interesting here, and I have to be reminded, because I did play the first Far Cry when it came out long ago in 2004. I'm trying to be remembered. This is basically the plot of it. This movie,
sort of. It's genetically engineered or altered animals instead of people, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Specifically,
that's more expensive though, because then we already did the super animal movie with Primal, the Nicolas Cage movie we watched, and that had bad CGI.
Third movie, that's why they were avoiding all, because when I think of Far Cry, I think of like an island filled with a bunch of wild animals and like little bases you have to take out or whatever.
The other
like
thing,
animals are integral to the equation.
Absolutely, and there's not a one in this movie, is there?
No, I don't believe so.
There's the theoretical animals of the whales, but other than that, we never get to see them.
Yeah, the whales.
Disappointment of this film.
In fact, a plot point is we don't see the whales, of course. The hilarious runner of that. Reed, did you look? Because we do play a game on the show where I try to make Listman guess the budget of the movie. Did you look up the budget? Do you know the budget?
I don't remember what it was. All I know is it flopped pretty hard.
Okay,
yes.
Well, Listman, I want you to take your best.
It made a lot less money than it cost.
Well, so I'd like you both then to take a guess at what you think it costs to make the movie. Looking at 2008, what do you think this thing cost? Having just seen it off the top of your head, I know we're, as always, we're not box office analysts here. But what do you think, just looking at this? If your Marvel movie is $200 million plus, what does this thing cost?
12 million.
12 million is a listener
guess? Do I do Price is Right rules?
Yes.
And just be like 11. I don't know.
Without going over.
Let's go a little bit crazier. Let's go like 25.
Ooh, that's pretty close, Reed. 30 million.
Okay.
30 million?
I know, it's a pretty shitty looking 30 million. Box office worldwide gross 783,000.
Ooh.
I mean, that's a complete disaster.
That's the
thing that gets me.
That's
is like,
impressive, honestly.
That's that's so bad it reverts back around to being impressive that something could bomb that much. That you could, it's like you could make that much money. Now I'm like, wow, you can lose that much money. That means no one saw this thing at all. I don't know what kind of release it got.
Why nobody knows it.
No, it's so even I remember this vaguely coming out, and it just getting. I remember hearing it was coming out. And then it just not being anywhere. Like, nobody booked this movie. I don't know what kind of release it got. Now it's available for all the lovely Amazon customers on Amazon Prime Video, folks. You can watch it over there.
Got a 3.2 rating, by the way.
There you go.
IMDb, so...
Well, that means people love it. Yeah. Listman, a certain friend of ours on Amazon might have opinions about it.
Excellent.
We'll get to him later, but let's dive into this movie. I think we've talked about Uwe Boll as the director here, but he didn't write. Did he write the script? No, he didn't have any. He has written some. There are 3 credited writers: Michael Roche, who I see has written so many classics like Alone in the Dark, House of the Dead. Seems to be an Uwe Boll writer.
Yeah. All the writers are
his guys. Yeah.
Yes.
It looks like. Yeah. So he's got. Oh, it's so sad to think he's got his team. Like, I'm with Uwe.
Uwe Boll is the Nick Fury of video game adaptations.
You're part of a bigger world now.
Yeah. We're putting a team together.
Now, Uwe Boll. Here's the thing about. Do you remember he was also a guy who was going to box film critics, people, because his movies. Uwe Boll is kind of, I feel like, left. He still makes movies, but just doesn't quite. There was a period of time when all of us were in college, sort of that time, right? When it was like there was a lot of talk about him on the internet, and that was when he was going, "I will publicly box anyone who gives my movie a bad review." He wanted to fight critics, and because it was sort of a thing where it's like there was a lot of stuff where it's like Uwe Boll's new movie gets 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, kind of thing, right? And so he was like, it was sort of a thing where it's just like, here's another piece of shit from this guy, which is also just this weird that he made so many of these when seemingly none of them were successful. They were almost just like they were almost greenlit out of just like curiosity, almost something like that, where you just go like, people know, it's almost just like word of mouth. I think sometimes some studios, and we're talking real low budget studios, are almost just like, well, he's a known quantity, so good or bad, it's sort of the no press is bad press kind of attitude.
And because he's made so many movies, you have to think some of them made money, right? Like I would assume.
I'm looking it up right now to see if any of his
Please
movies
do,
were actually profitable.
That's, I mean, you're right, Lisman. It's got to be. You don't get to. I mean, people make. I mean, he doesn't spend much, so that helps. But I was gonna say, like, sometimes people get to make one movie and it doesn't do that well, and they never get to work again. Right. So it's tough. It's just so interesting. I mean, I think a lot of his financing comes from foreign locations that aren't maybe as discerning as an American studio, or that profit driven, or I mean, I think he always has. Once again, somehow he gets these video game rights too. So that has a built-in audience. But there's sequels to these movies, right? Like, why would they keep making Blood Rain movies unless they made money? I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. But they're all terrible.
Blood Rain has 2.9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Oh, man, I look forward.
There's a sequel. There's a sequel to In the Name of the King. Did you know that?
There's two sequels. One of them has Dolph.
Okay.
Our boy Dolph.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
There's another
Life
one.
Just keeps getting better, doesn't it?
We've seen the first In the Name of the King. We have not seen the sequels.
Classic.
We have seen the first one that has, weirdly, is Jason Statham. That's the one that he kind of had legitimacy on for some reason. I don't know if Dungeon Siege or something.
Talked about a lot because of that movie. I mean, it was bad, so
it's bad. But that one he had he had some of our favorites like Statham and Burt Reynolds awkwardly placed atop a horse. Ray Liotta, Ron Perlman's in that. Those are good actors. Right. John Rhys Davies. So I don't know. That's weird, but I think a big problem here, to jump right into it, is this leading man, Til Schweiger. Til Schweiger, who is great as Hugo Stiglitz in Inglourious Basterds,
which came out the following
year. But I will say, I'm not sure this guy should carry a film in the English language.
I'm not getting that impression. No.
And it's one of those things where it's like we don't want to bash on actors, because as we all know from working in film and stuff like that, actors are usually the sort of last in line of having control of a movie for the most part.
Right.
But I will just say, this is also a situation where I think just command over the language he's speaking is doing a lot of damage to the performance.
Yes, and the script that he's going off of is already bad. So when there's the language barrier and a bad script and a director who is either hands-off or incompetent, I don't know, he's doomed to fail, it seems.
I don't get the sense Uwe Boll is working hard with actors to craft performances.
Right. Maybe he's a bit more special effects oriented.
Although those
not
aren't
after seeing this film.
Yes.
Well, I'm not
saying those aren't good either.
Yeah. But now I'm curious what he would consider his speciality in directing, because there's a lot of facets of directing.
Well, I in my brain, the idea that Uwe could like crank out a movie really quick. He's probably really good at being like, we've got a script ready to go. We can get it done for this budget, and here we go. We're not going to spend time on it. Point, shoot, movie done. Right?
Yeah, that will get you pretty far, especially I think especially
It's true.
in the action shelf realm, I think the idea of getting things in on time and under budget gets you a long way. Because as we were talking about beforehand, this is not the worst directed movie we've seen by any stretch of the imagination.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah.
But it's
Some level of competency.
Like I think before we started, it's like the thing that I said was, this is a movie that I've seen. This is one of them.
yeah.
Yes.
Is this time I won't get back, but like at the same time, that time is just like, okay, well, what was I gonna do with an hour and a half anyways? So
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the thing. There wasn't. Oh well, there was. I will talk about. Anytime this movie tries to be funny were the only times I was actively bashing my head against a wall, like, oh my god.
Yes.
But for the most part, the movie does just kind of go by innocuously. Like yes, it's a base level of competence, but the thing it's not doing is trying to do anything beyond just absolute standard rote material, right?
Right.
And I think that is reflected in like almost every single thing in this movie. Lighting, sets,
Yeah.
costuming, all of it is just like, how do we maintain the most inoffensive level and get it out the door?
Yeah,
and we got Far Cry.
And that's that right off the bat. Something you mentioned about like lighting, location, something immediately this movie does not capture about that game is one of the things I think about that game is how vivid its colors are. That bright blue water and everything is kind of sun-drenched jungle, and here we are in the murky grays of Montreal. To save money
Because it's cheap.
because it's cheap, and so much of it's at night in darkness. And I'm just going,
Yes.
man, you are not at all capturing the vibe of the games in that sense.
Yeah.
Like location is kind of, as we're talking about, because it's sort of the same game put onto different locations and aesthetics. Location is so important to the Far Cry franchise, and here's a movie that is just like, I don't know, it's just like an island.
They don't even mention where it is, right? I don't think they say specifically where they are,
I don't know if they do.
as far as I can remember.
It's just generic.
But
it's so
it
generic.
looks like Canada, because
Yeah.
we see so many movies filmed there.
Well, listen, I think we're to the point now where we could pick Canada locations out of a lineup from doing this show. We know Vancouver pretty well from this show.
Doing this show and
yeah.
watching all of the X-Files.
Yeah, we're in. I mean, because I'm looking at. I said Montreal
First 5
earlier.
seasons of
Yes,
X-Files.
before they moved to LA,
Yeah.
and the whole aesthetic of the show changed. But like, yeah, looking at this, I said Montreal earlier. I should have said Vancouver. We're in Surrey and Vancouver, and almost everything we watch, all of our movies are pretty much either shot there or Bulgaria, one or the
those are
other.
the big two.
And I actually feel like Bulgaria might have been better for this, because at least it would have
I
had
think
maybe more
so.
personality.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I don't know. There wouldn't be like that island.
It'd be
but,
something
like,
though. Yeah.
it'd be
Well,
something,
I
yeah.
mean, given the Far Cry video game series, like
At this
you
point,
don't necessarily have to. At this point, years later, we don't necessarily have to go to an island. But the idea is it's a Far Cry. It's something different and far away from your everyday thing. And our journalist character drives a couple hours and is there.
Oh,
At
boy.
no
It
point
is.
you're like, I'm in some fantastical,
That's
magical, like secret hidden place. I chartered a
Reed,
boat
are you
for an hour.
Are you saying they completely misunderstood the title of the video game? Is that what you're?
Now, I'm not saying that because Uwe's guys are listening right now. They're hey,
Oh, yeah, they're
I don't
big
want to
fans.
box him. I don't want to box this guy. So,
knock. Bleed
just-
Morris, I'm here to fight you.
No, not again, Uwe.
Come on, we
not
can't
again.
keep doing this.
I think he challenged
Yeah.
Michael Bay to a fight at one point too.
Pretty sure he did.
Really?
Yeah.
They actually go through with the fight.
No, not the Michael Bay one. He did fight a film critic though. That did happen.
Really?
Yeah, Michael Bay. You know why? Because this guy is a
Michael Bay doesn't give a fuck.
He's a little
He's a
flea to
fly on
Michael-
Michael
yeah.
Bay's like. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where it's like, Uwe, come on. Don't pick a fight with Michael Bay. Like, it's just, that guy, I know you think you're hot shit, but you're not Michael Bay. When are they going to let
maybe
me?
he's delusional.
Maybe they're going to let me direct one of the Transformers. I could do
No,
it.
Michael Bay, I have replaced him.
I think he was saying stuff like that, and he goes, and I also love the idea of I'll prove it by beating him in a physical fight. That will prove I'm the better filmmaker. Like, I don't know, man. That's weird.
That's I think it's an 11-year-old's logic. I think
But
you're behaving like you're
I
a
do
middle
think
schooler.
you speak to something about that. You're right on about that, Reed. About there's just a lack of scope here. There's a lack of, if this is an adventure genre, there is no adventure to be had here. That's something I think, Lisman, you and I were fairly positive, mildly positive, I should say, about the Uncharted movie, which is it's not amazing, but it did capture a globe-trotting adventure vibe. And to be fair, that had probably, 5 times the budget of this movie, at least.
Yeah.
But still, it is sort of a thing where it's like, I don't know. It's just, he really tries to capture, well, I don't know how much, but he does try to capture the sort of shooter aspect of this, I guess. Like, there are sort of like, but it's the roteness of the whole movie. It's sort of a checklist of like, Jeep chase, boat chase, gunfight, it's all just, and all of it is done okay, but like, it would be like okay for like, these are about the levels of shootouts you're gonna get on an average episode of NCIS.
Right, exactly. And I will say, the story structure of this movie does have a lot of similarities to video games that were made in the early 2000s.
Sure.
I will say that.
It does have a very video game logic to it, right? Like, and
exactly. Like, literally every moment in this movie was basically what's the term when you have like an NPC following you around, that an escort mission,
quest,
either the reporter or the punchline fat guy.
God, funny fat sidekick.
Yeah.
No, he's just the food guy.
He makes that abundantly clear. Boy, oh boy, when we meet this guy choking down a hoagie, literally choking down a hoagie, it is like, literally, good Lord. Listman, I feel like this guy will come back come the end of the year when we're talking about worst performances.
Yeah. He wasn't flat. His performance was not flat.
No.
Like the other characters, but it didn't fit with anything else that existed in this film. And he was not funny, which was the entire purpose of him being in this movie.
Here's a question. Was anything funny in this movie?
No. Absolutely not. Definitely not,
No.
This movie is kind of... This movie has a pretty low opinion of women, and it has a pretty low opinion of fat people. I was expecting it to be racist at one point, or even homophobic, but it didn't. It
never
didn't
quite got
fit
there.
That
Didn't quite
get there, but it did have the first two.
It would have had to have included anyone of color or of non-heterosexual.
It also
people.
did not include. Yeah, that is very true.
Weirdly enough, I don't think this movie even has the energy to do those things, right?
Yeah.
It's like they were so tired in the writing room to write these jokes that they may have been funny to a person who hasn't slept in a couple days, but to the actual person, it's just like,
well, that's the thing we talk about. I don't think it has a high opinion of women, but I also don't think it has the energy to actually be anti-women either. That's the thing where it's just like, I mean, because
it's all lazy tropes is really what it is.
It's real lazy tropes. Let's talk about the movie opens up in the first of. Obviously, Far Cry is so inspired by action movies to begin with, the games, but this movie starting off lazy with the action movie references with this very Predator ripoff opening.
I was like, okay, great. Now it's going to be a Predator ripoff. That always goes well.
Do you want Predator, but without any of the cool designs or action sequences of Predator?
What if the Predator was a big albino man?
Yeah. Let's talk about these genetically enhanced soldiers that are the central threat of the movie.
We'll go with that. Yeah, we'll say that's true.
They're designed by
the argument.
Probably another actor I like, Udo Kier, who's a legendary German character actor. Is he German? Yes. Udo Kier, who I just saw doing amazing work.
A lot of German actors in this movie.
A lot of German filmmaker Uwe Boll. A lot of German actors. But Udo Kier is sort of a go-to creepy guy in horror and genre stuff.
I mean, he's got a great voice.
He got a great
voice, very piercing eyes. You know, he has a presence on
and I don't think he's
Yeah.
bad in the movie as much as he's just sort of almost a non-entity in the movie. Weirdly, for being the main villain, he's pretty low key. He's not in it a lot. It's kind of weird. And
the villains of Far Cry games are like one of the key components. It's what brings you to
sort of the whole marketing of the most recent Far Cry game is that they got Giancarlo Esposito to be the villain.
Right.
Well, and I unfortunately for like the games and the comparison between the games and this specific outing is that sort of focus on we're crafting interesting and complex villains didn't happen until Far Cry 3.
That's true.
Right.
That is true.
So, you know.
But just in general of trying to write a movie, this guy is just sort of like, I don't quite know what he wants. I mean, he's a mad scientist character, but he's not mad enough. Once again, I've seen Udo Kier give more insane performances. I highly recommend, if anyone's not watching Hunters on Amazon, he's the main villain this season on Hunters, the Nazi hunting show, and he is amazing and terrifying and really good on that show. Whereas here, it just feels like I don't know if he's checked out or if they just don't really have anything for him to do. Probably column A and column B.
They certainly don't have anything for him to do because, I mean, what is the guiding star behind writing the script? You know, what is the narrative push and pull here? Like, what are because the movie's not trying to say anything other than this is a stupid action movie. This villain doesn't really, like, his motivations are murky because this movie has no opinion.
Well, and they almost give something about like the military industrial complex, but then they kind of just steer out of that. Poor Don S. Davis, who plays this military general, who's your go-to general actor. As soon as this guy shows up, speaking of X-Files, Listman, did you clock him as Scully's father?
Oh yeah. Maggie and I were quoting the X-Files a lot watching
and
this
also,
movie.
but for sci-fi nerds, he's General Hammond from Stargate SG-1, that he was a regular on there. I spent a lot of my youth watching that show. So immediately he reads as, I'm the general. And he comes in for one
Right.
This scene really made me laugh. This is something we talk about a lot on my monster show, Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, which is they come in. So he's built this island full of these genetically altered soldiers, right? He's got an island full of these, as mentioned, big, beefy albino soldiers. And they demonstrate that he has created bulletproof skin for them.
Yes.
That's the greatest scientific achievement of... And because they can't control... The whole thing is they have to keep the soldiers sedated or they'll go nuts and kill everybody. The fact that this general would be like, well, then we don't want the whole thing. Shut it down. Don't. It's like, whoa. Seems like he's gone pretty far. Maybe give him some more money to keep working on it.
Right, exactly. He's figured out one problem. You know,
Yeah.
now he just needs to solve the other
But it's
problem,
something we talk
which
about a
is
lot on Meet the
controlling
Monsters,
guys.
where it's like Frankenstein, often in Frankenstein movies, like Dr. Frankenstein will have done something truly amazing, but because it's not perfect, it's like, burn the whole lab down. You're like, wait a minute, that's not how science works.
Right.
But I just thought, that's nuts.
We figured out how to split the atom. It's like, okay, well, hold on. Like, what use is this?
Yeah.
We're just splitting atoms. Okay, let's just scrap the whole fucking thing. Sorry, Reed, what were you gonna say?
Well, and I think by that same extension of it's not perfect. Well, their weak points are the eyes and the mouth, right? Okay, they haven't also taken that logical extension of just like, okay, well, give them a bulletproof helmet or something like that, and then they're done. They're done. You have it. You figured it out.
I do love,
And this movie just doesn't bother to have the energy to make that next narrative leap in any sort of logical thinking for almost any of its characters.
They have to put all their R&D into the bulletproof skin, though. So, like, you know, they just didn't have the resources at the time to make helmets. Bulletproof helmets,
right. All of the money that they spent on hiring the mercenaries, they couldn't slap a helmet on on any of them.
Yeah, on was it Uncle
Tough?
Is it Uncle Dan? What's his guy? Uncle
Max.
Uncle Max. That's what it is.
Who is actually, I think, is probably my favorite character out of all of them.
Uncle Max.
I think
certainly the most interesting.
I think he has the most to do in this movie. Actually, I think he is our protagonist. Weirdly enough,
I think you're right in terms of actually having an arc of any sort. I think you're 100% right about that. And listen, this is a guy who plays Uncle Max, Ralph Moeller, another German, who we will talk about again on this show in not too long. He's in a number of Action Shelf movies. He's also in Gladiator. He's one of the gladiators in Gladiator. So that's pretty good.
He's a big, intimidating looking dude. You know?
I feel like we see a lot.
Large.
Yeah, I feel like we see a lot of side actors from Gladiator in these Action Shelf movies, because I think Ridley Scott just went and got every big, broad-shouldered, muscly guy in Hollywood to be amongst the army of gladiators in that film. And so
all those actors got clout from being in Gladiator, and so a whole industry was created.
Despite the fact they're like, you know, to the side of Russell Crowe, right? Like, well, they don't have any lines in it; they're just in it.
Yes, they just have to look intimidating.
And he barely has any lines in this movie, so I agree, though. I think he may be the most interesting character in terms of actually going on any kind of journey here. But yeah, so he's built this up. I also love, speaking of the mercenaries, when these guys get loose, they know to aim for the eyes and mouth, and yet they try to shoot them in the chest time and time again.
Yeah,
not very
it's
good
hard.
mercenaries.
Again, they had to spend all of their money on the bulletproof skin. They couldn't afford to hire the best of the best.
They really went all in on the bulletproof skin. I love that the mercenaries have their own little thing about, like, hey man, we're not cool with this anymore at a certain point. Like we have to chart the feelings of some of them. That's the other thing too. The movie has like two groups of mercenaries. Some are loyal to Dr. Krieger. Other guys are like, not cool, man.
Yeah.
This movie stumbles on the smallest bits of an idea, right? You know, and again, never bothers to follow through on any of it. I think one of the only things that ever happens in terms of like character arc is the leader of the like security force, not the mercenaries. And the moment that he is like, all right, that's it, we're done, he gets finished, and you're like, okay, well, who else am I supposed to root for in this movie?
And by the way, that character's name in the credits, Reed? Leader.
Leader. Fantastic.
Now, is that a first name or a last name?
Yeah, unclear. I just love the idea about, like, they're even just like, he's the leader of security, so his name is Leader, I guess. I don't know. Who cares? This guy has played such memorable characters as Pinstriped Mafioso in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Classic.
Who could forget the Pinstriped Mafioso?
I certainly couldn't.
Another guy, or even better, Prison Guard in Deadpool 2. Oh, the legendary Prison Guard, one of Deadpool's greatest villains.
Yeah, I think he won. Was he nominated for a Golden Globe?
Nominated, yeah, and it's one of those. Okay. It's one of those controversial decisions that he didn't win it. He really had the public's campaign for that.
Yeah. I mean, I was rooting for him.
I think it did. Yeah, it speaks to the general laziness of this. And so let's talk about our two lead characters. We'll talk about Jack Carver in a second, but the impetus of the story falls on Valerie Cardinal, who's I guess. She's a reporter, and I don't know. Is she meant to be in sort of a Lois Lane mold? That's kind of what I got initially. Like,
think so.
That's as much character work as they've done, I feel like. Is like, you know,
Yes.
one of those lady reporter types.
Don't think about it. Don't think about the character's backstory because there's going to be guns later. There's going to be guns later and albino dudes with big arms. Don't think about characters at all. We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
No, it is just sort of like, and in the marketplace that is these movies for problematic divorced dads, as we oft talk about, that there's the target audience of these movies, she's super hot. So what does it matter? This is
and she fits into the mold of a lot of these movies where what's a career-driven woman in these types of movies? What kind of career are they allowed to have? And one of those is reporter.
And that is from the game. If I remember correctly, you are escorting as Jack Carver, a reporter, to the island. And I think similarly to this, she might actually have more to do in this movie than she does in the game. I think she's like instantly just captured, if I remember correctly, and you're just trying to save her in the game.
Sounds right.
I don't think she's really much. I mean, they're really, in that first Far Cry game, there is very little plot in my memory.
Yes.
It really is, you know. I mean, in as much
it's a thin veneer to justify going around and taking out bad guys.
Yeah, know? I mean, it's sort of what you're talking about. Listen, with a lot of those mid 2000s action games, were sort of just like, I mean, I remember just the whole thing was just like, you're on an island full of bad people and you have to shoot them. That's about as much as I remember plot-wise of anything going on there. You know, it's the later games that get into like uprisings and rebellions and stuff as sort of the central. I will say, this is Emmanuel Voyer, I believe is how you pronounce her name, Voyer, who is a working actress in many, many things. Does a lot of TV. She great gig of being the extended girlfriend for Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men. You know, work is work, man.
Consistent paycheck, yeah.
You know, is she good or bad in this? What does it matter?
You know, like, I think we've seen probably a better performance in another film, Saw 2. Actually, her character is compelling, in which is you don't think of Saw being a bastion of character development,
right?
But she has more to do in that movie than she does in this one, where she's given the idea of being a protagonist and sharing screen time and carrying a movie. And that doesn't happen, which is strange.
This is not the only Uwe Boll movie she's in. She's also in House of the Dead 2. So, good, I guess.
and like, what is she actually, how does she contribute? Like, when they're on the island together and he's taking out all the bad guys, what is she contributing? Well,
because we're introduced to her telling her editor, played by Action Shelf regular Michael Pare. My God, he's in a billion of these movies.
Make that money. Well, I won't
chase that paper.
Anyone for cashing in that check. We all would love to do it.
We are. Oh well, any of us would happily be in an Uwe Boll movie, no question about it. No, and that's the thing. That's why we always try to be very detrimental to the actors, because we know that's hard stuff, and we always say good for anyone. That's why we see a lot of soap opera people. Hey, that's totally good work. Hallmark Channel movies, that's solid money, man. So I don't besmirch anyone in that field, but so we're talking, and Michael Frey pops in for what, an hour's work as this editor or something. He comes in for like
seems like it, yeah.
Oh, you gotta think. But she says she has a contact. I just love this, like this whole thing about like, I've got a contact who says there's an island full of secret military experiments, and of course that's her uncle Max, who we've talked about, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And
this evil doctor has a history of doing stuff like this. So this isn't the first time he's had an island filled with genetic experiments.
I'm on my fourth island of experiments. The other 3, they just went so bad, you know. But this one, fingers crossed.
Used to work for Dr. Moreau. That did not go well. So here I am.
Things did not go well with Dr. Moreau, but yeah. No, it is just it's just so, and this guy going like, well, yeah, follow up on that. Look into creepy doctor with a mysterious island.
He's like, you don't want me to go? I'll go on my vacation. He's like, nothing I could do about that, I guess. End of scene. It's like, okay.
End of scene as, yes, she drives, maybe a couple hours at the most, as you were saying, Reed, to this mysterious secret island.
Yeah, she's driving, gets on a phone call with the owner of this boat charter company.
Oh.
Two characters who are actually seem like they're having an okay time doing this.
Yeah.
And say, I'll be there in a couple hours, of which you would assume they would already have had this conversation, otherwise she wouldn't be driving up there in the first place. But yeah, it's vague. She's left the city to drive an indeterminate amount of time to Secret Island Cove.
Secret Island Cove.
Yeah.
Secret Island it's all in like an estuary or something. Like it's all in a river essentially. So it's not
that secret, is I think what we're getting to. It seems like anybody could just paddle out to this island.
You can see it from the mainland pretty easily, yeah.
Not only that, but there look to be it's a very obvious logging operation and lumber mill.
Well, that will be important.
So there are people popping in and out constantly to go to work here.
Yeah.
So in no way is this a secret place.
You know why? Because an action shelf movie can't resist having a climax in an industrial setting. It just can't. It has to.
Yeah.
It's just these are the needs. By the way, this guy who owns because it's this kind of bantery couple who owns this boat place. He's actor Jay Brazeau or Brazeau. And he's a Canadian actor, and we've talked about, boy, if you live in Vancouver, there's a lot of acting work. And this guy's in a million things, but immediately I'm like, wow, he's got a pretty good, he's the news vendor in Zack Snyder's Watchmen. That's an unnamed part that's actually like pretty important.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Not bad. I mean, this guy's also in Chris Nolan's Insomnia. So he's a guy who is in a million things of all varieties of quality and budget level. So, and I do agree.
Yeah.
He and the wife, they actually managed to build some kind of chemistry that no other get, because, oh my God. I mean, listen, we're to the Shelfies this year. We've added a new category of most awkward romance, and this is definitely our first nominee because
it's, oh my God, this comes out of nowhere.
Till Schweiger and Emmanuel Voyer have the opposite of chemistry. It's not even they don't have chemistry. It's like it is painful to sit through their scenes.
Yeah, that's true. Are they better or worse than the whale watching couple at the beginning / end of this movie?
We'll talk about how we meet our hero Jack Carver, who is a former, did they say special forces?
Yes.
Well, the wife says special army, and then the husband corrects to special forces.
Well, yeah, she's a stupid woman. She doesn't know
What a great
anything.
joke.
You know how them dames don't know nothing about army talk.
What do women actually accomplish in this movie? Like, are any of them good at anything in this film? Like, it's just
no, because
like,
even the reporter just gets a phone call that this island is out here. It's not like she solves clues to find it.
Yeah,
I think the leader of the mercenaries is good at shooting a gun like twice and stabbing a couple people. And
that's true.
That's what they have that character do. That's a lot of work to do there.
She's a real action type of like the stone cold badass lady. That's pretty common in these things too. They love that. Like, I'm scared of her, but she's hot as well. Once again,
and let her step on me. Just taking the perspective of the divorced dads.
That's Natalia Avalon is that actress. She's Polish. Okay, not German, Polish. But
completely different.
Looks like is in mostly Polish things. Fine, but it's sort of, it doesn't have much to do in this movie other than So, yeah, the best the best thing a female character can do in this movie is she just does some action and doesn't talk. Basically,
Yes,
she hardly has
exactly.
any lines, and she's the loyalist to Krieger, and there's no exploration of that relationship of why she is loyal to Krieger.
Not at all.
It's
They
just
don't
like,
care. They don't care about her motivations.
Hell
It
do I-
doesn't matter.
Hell do I care? Says the people watching this movie. But yes, we meet.
Take your top off.
You know
What
what?
they're shouting at the television.
Shocked, Listman. There is not any exploitational random nudity in this movie. That is this
Is Uwe
really.
Boll known for that? That I can't remember because there wasn't any in.
I think Dungeon Siege is actually PG-13, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't think he's known for it, but I'm sure he's indulged in it. All movies of this level it is PG-13, Dungeon Siege. Yeah, I mean, he feels like he would do it. I don't know that he's known for it, but it just feels like this movie feels sleazy enough to do it, though it doesn't indulge fully in that way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Not complaining.
Yeah.
Please note that is not me going, I wish there was.
Yeah, in that same note of like the PG-13 rating and the inverse of, okay, which way does a film go? Do they lean heavily in the nudity, or do they go heavy on gore?
Yeah.
And right off the bat, we get some pretty good-looking gore.
Yeah.
And then that is done away with for like the rest of the film.
Yeah.
All of the gore after that is very lazy and just throwing some red paint on somebody.
It's
That
is interesting. You would think this movie would get really gory because it is rated R, but yeah, it is sort of like, go for the R then. This movie, if anything, you could have backed it off and been PG-13 because there's really not much going on. I don't remember there being a lot of language in it, probably a couple of F-bombs in there, but not really. And the sex is all very juvenile, almost chaste. Like, just the acknowledgement that sex exists is about as much as there is. And oh god, the awful running bit about her rating of his sex is just
so
hurt.
insecure.
It hurt.
I mean,
to
again,
watch.
this is trying to appeal to very insecure,
very lonely men.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a lonely guy movie.
Who cares? Like, who has this actual conversation?
Well, who has this actual conversation that doesn't understand too that like she's being flirty? It's a weird. It's also just this thing where it's like she goes, "Yeah, you're a 2, maybe a 3," and then he's like, "Really? That can't be." Like, not to like turn it into banter and like a potential. I mean, it's still dumb, but this should be like a flirty banter, and instead he's like really worried about it, which is so weird to play.
Yeah. It's the only thing he cares about in this movie. It's the
I
only
mean, it
thing he
seems
has
to be
opinion about.
It's the only thing he's got going for him right now. Because as far as we've seen, he sleeps on the boat out in the open air after going to the local bar and does this repeatedly. And has to deal with constant, like, people screaming about the whales in some sort of landlocked lake.
Yeah, I did have that thought.
Like,
what whales are you seeing out here in this lake in Manitoba?
I mean, it's a pretty good grift, honestly, if you think about it.
Oh, the
because whales are never guaranteed on Whale Watch, so you just put a sign up being like, "Yeah, Whale Watch," and guess they're not out today.
Tourist couple that we see. Ho, weren't we laughing? Weren't we laughing
so
at this?
funny.
This woman, by the
so
way, is
good.
in some other Uwe Boll movies. No surprise there. He's got his people.
No.
What's weird enough about those two characters is they remind me of people who have done something better than that in the couple from Best in Show.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I can understand a movie who did this way better. Very neurotic, very hyped up, and this is not them.
No,
at all.
It's not. But it's like everything in this movie. The action and the comedy are all like, oh, this has the air of comedy about it. This has the air of action about it.
It's supposed to be funny.
Yeah, it's like
you can tell it's trying to be funny.
I understand the rhythms you're playing here, but it's not landing, right? Like, you're just sort of going like, yes, it's exactly that, where it's like, yes, I've seen this type of couple be funny in other movies. this isn't funny, but I understand this thing. By the way, the woman in this couple is in another video game movie that I think we've talked about doing and probably will at some point, and that is the Dead Rising movie.
Ooh, classic.
Yeah.
Classic. I have not seen. So it's amazing how
So
well I've
what you're
steered
saying
away
is
from all of these films.
You will come back for that episode, Reed, is what you're
Oh,
saying
of course.
right now.
Why not? Why
You're
not?
committing to Dead Rising. Watchtower is the full title of that. And she was also in Watchmen. She played Jackie Kennedy for one shot of John F. Kennedy being assassinated in that movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the fact that she was anywhere near a movie of this of that like budget.
Well, then it's an interesting thing where there's a picture of her at the Mission Impossible Fallout premiere, and I'm going, was she in that? No, she was just at the premiere.
Oh,
Where did they have the premiere? I think that's just like, well, I was nearby. So.
I popped in, held at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington D.C. That's actually a pretty cool place to have a movie premiere.
Yeah.
Well,
but I think she was catering the event.
Yeah, she was waiting on it. She gave Tom Cruise some cocktail or something like that. No, he famously doesn't ingest alcohol or sugars or anything that humans have.
I believe he consumes a gelatin of some sort, like a blue gelatin.
Tom Cruise is a guy. I love Tom Cruise, but we know look, even in the words of Community, even Tom Cruise knows he's short and nuts. But this feels like Tom Cruise is getting IV injections of some sort of glowing blue liquid or something like that is how he's sustaining himself. And you're just like, I
believe that's true.
That's great, man. As long as he makes 34 Mission Impossibles, I'm good with him.
That's all.
Yeah. But okay, yeah, talking about Jack Carver's life, something that once again this movie has no interest in anything beyond the faintest sketch of characters. He's presented as this like boozy, washed up guy, but once the plot starts on the island, none of that plays into it. There's no point when he seems like he maybe can't do it, or he's washed up, or he fails at something, or he wants a drink, or he's dealing with alcoholism. Nothing like that at all.
Yeah, I think it's implying that the natural state of manhood is one of violence.
Yeah.
So when you're no longer within that realm, you can't cope with the sort of stand. At least that's, I think, what they're going for, or maybe they stumbled into.
Listen, I think what you just said is more intellectual thought than they ever put into it making this movie.
Well, I don't know, John. I mean, it's deeper than you think.
You think
it's really the iceberg theory here of the Far Cry film.
Anyone working on Far Cry said something about the nature of man at any point.
Here's the inverse of that. Is they said, why don't we have the audience create stuff for us? We're thinking too hard on them. Let's put all of the impetus on the audience, here, and have them really create a surrogate, a silent protagonist in which we can have them insert themselves like a video game.
Well, I mean that is.
Boy, it worked
accurate.
out.
Yeah,
because I mean the any kind of first-person shooter generally, and particularly the Far Cry games, I feel like you are a cipher. Your main character is a cipher, and something video games can do, because the whole idea is to take on a role to a certain extent. Some do it more than others. But when you move to a movie, it becomes tougher, to get away with that. You have to kind of... I think that's an interesting thing about the Halo show on Paramount that really, pissed a lot of people off by having Master Chief take off his helmet and do all this. And it's sort of like, good or bad. I thought that show had a lot of weaknesses, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But it was sort of but I was also understanding of well, you kind of have to maybe do that if it's going to be a show about a guy. I
mean, that show has an idea about what a character is, and this movie has an idea of what a dude is.
Yeah, I think dude is about as much of a character as this Jack Carver is. He's, a dude who does dude stuff.
Yeah, drives a boat, drinks beer, fucks ladies, takes out bad guys.
That's it exactly. Well, because it does create, once again, in the problematic divorced dad audience, it is kind of like, push comes to shove, I can do this shit. I think that is sort of that mentality these guys have, where it's like, when the chips are down, man, I'll just pick up a gun or a knife and I will fuck shit up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're like they're drinking alone, watching this movie. They've got a handgun in one hand and a bottle of Jack in the other, and they're like, "This is the life.
This is it, man."
I mean, as we see in the movie, he doesn't even carry his gun in his hand. He goes to sleep with our female lead, and he's still got a gun strapped to him.
Yeah.
For a quality dick joke.
Quality. Yeah.
So he actually that was his actual gun, because I took it as
he tosses the gun out of the bed.
You can hear
you don't
it like
see what he grabs.
Metal on metal or whatever.
No, you don't.
There's a sound cue.
There is a sound cue though, and he literally, because she goes, "Is that your?" He's down to because so the scene we're talking about that's completely insane. One of the more insane things in this movie is after they escape from the villains and they get out of the lake. That's about as much water as we're dealing with here. They take refuge in just this cabin. I love movies with these mysterious islands and stuff that just have like, at some point someone lived in a cabin here, and it's always just there and ready for people to use and take refuge. It's such an action movie.
But let's not think too much about who would be here and how long ago or what state the building would be in.
No, it's in like pretty good shape. It seems like somebody was there somewhat recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, they have to like it's meant to be a sexy scene, and you know kind of where it's going, where it's like you have to get out of your wet clothes, and I guess we have to huddle together for warmth. And
in the special forces, we used to do something to stay warm. Would you like to know what it is?
Yeah.
Hmm?
And then yeah, she goes, "Is that your gun?" Now he's down to just his boxers at this point too.
Which specifically, if you watch the movie, his boxers are not wet. No. The only part of him that are wet is like his upper torso, because one of the set people ran in, sprayed him down really quick, made him shiny so he would look good in those soft yellow lighting, and then told him like, "Yeah, you're good."
Yeah. And just visually, Til Schweiger does look like an action hero, right? He's got a good build and square jaw. Yeah, he's jacked. He's got good jawline.
Got a shaved torso.
It's
not a hair on him.
Like a lot of the Action Shelf guys, as soon as he opens his mouth, you're like, "Oh, you've got nothing going here, do you?" But yeah, so he gets, and she goes, "Yeah, is that your gun?" And then he says, "Oh, I never go anywhere without it." And then pulls the gun out, and you hear it clunk off camera onto the ground. So yeah,
I assumed he was just taking off his underwear.
No, there's a distinct metal
talking about his penis.
There's the distinct clunking of metal. Yeah, he apparently had jammed a pistol into his boxer shorts.
How
like
tight
a
are these
psycho.
Boxers?
Yeah,
they're not. They're a very loose traditional boxer. We're not talking boxer briefs.
No. They're full on boxer shorts. Which is it reminds me.
So he has a gun. He has a loaded gun, not tucked in his pants, tucked in his boxers in the front.
It has to be.
So theoretically his penis is touching the gun, which means
that's the only thing that gets me going, baby.
He loves the thrill of the danger.
Oh yeah, I leave the safety off and the hammer pulled back. Really take it to the edge, honey.
It's the only way to live.
It reminds me of Dave Bautista in Glass Onion when he's got his like Speedo in the pool and he's got the 45 jammed in it. Although he actually has a holster, which is in some ways more insane.
In some ways less insane, because you want a gun to be in a holster.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, I have no idea why they have sex beyond they are two attractive people. But like they've built up almost nothing about this relationship. At every point she seemed pretty repelled by him. And then it's just I guess we have sex now. I guess that's what happens now.
Gotta stay warm, John. It's survival.
potentially there is the idea that they've just been shot at and gone through this crazy escape and everything, and so now's the time, now or never. And at no point during that chase did either one of them feel like they were stressed or freaked out, right? No reason for this to be like the climax of like, hey, we're worried we're gonna die.
No,
at no point do any of them feel like we're gonna die. We need to like be worried about this situation at all. They're all just like, what are these? They're grenades.
Oh,
that was a joke.
That was dumb. She didn't know to pull the pin on the grenade. Who doesn't know that?
Let's go back to that, because that whole chase scene is insane, and really lends credence to the idea that women don't know how to do anything like actually useful in this movie. She doesn't understand that you have to pull a pin out of a grenade and then throw it. Like, who doesn't understand how that works? I don't know. I do not know.
She literally picks up a grenade and goes, "What's this?" I mean, I think everyone is generally familiar with at least the concept of a hand grenade, right?
Yeah,
it's a fruit, right? You eat it. Yeah,
you have to peel
buy
it
them at the
first.
store. Yeah, sometimes you get them in juice. Yeah,
especially when she has this close relationship with her soldier uncle too. I think that would have something to do with it. I mean, they go too far. You can go too far either way with this stuff. Because I remember when The Predator was out, the very disappointing Predator movie that was out a couple years ago, and like in that movie you have Olivia Munn as a scientist who out of nowhere is an expert with a machine gun, and you're like, wait, what the fuck?
Yes.
You wouldn't know how to do that.
Yes.
But then here's the opposite, where like she's literally has no concept of what a weapon even is.
Yeah, she might not know what a gun is. Honestly, she might have never heard of the concept. Yeah,
and it's a thing where it's like, that's fine, because I am of the opinion you don't need every character to be tough by knowing how to use weapons and kill people, but they don't also back it up with she's good at other stuff either.
Yes, exactly.
She's just there to be captured.
Yes. So in the chase scene, she finds,
and this is all at night. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a nut. I should say though, but this whole like first act of action is all in pitch black, which is always. Yes. I mean, there are people who do night scenes really well, but in a movie like this, always reads as cheap to me.
Yeah, you don't. They want to show as little of this island as possible.
Yeah, you're getting no sense.
It's not
of
an island.
Yeah. That's a huge problem with this movie. Amongst many other problems. This is not one of those movies that's like, well, if only they had done this. It's like, no, everything is compounding to make a bad movie here.
Yeah, there's
weirdly enough, I think the night stuff is some of the better things because you don't see
stuff,
right?
Yeah.
And so you're just like, okay, I believe it. It's dark out. This is what night actually looks like. Because they're filming it at night with no lights. Okay, I believe that.
See, yeah, it actually does make the chase seem a little bit more dangerous as a result of that. They really can't see because I can't see what's going on.
I can't tell. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why they do it. So I guess it does work. But yeah, so yes, listen, she's like, she's just did because they've stolen a truck from the bad guys. And Till Schweiger's driving and telling her, what's back there? Dig through the equipment and stuff that's back there. And yeah, she finds this harpoon gun that she inadvertently shoots out through the roof of the truck, and it just happens to pierce the helicopter that's chasing them.
I do want to point out, they don't steal a truck. They steal the people's car. They steal a Volkswagen.
They do.
A militarized Volkswagen.
Yeah.
That they just like so happen to have a couple different shots of looking at the back hatch of it and everything, and let the heroes drive the Volkswagen while the bad guys they're driving American Humvees, and the one that gets blown up is like a 1993 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yeah.
Very top of the line military here.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
I think the Army's still buying those in bulk, right? They don't
even have to buy them; they just have them already.
Yeah,
they're just in a field somewhere right now. There's stacks and stacks of them.
I think the military makes them, right? I think that's Grand Cherokees are actually government issue, if I'm not mistaken.
Everything in the U.S. is at some point funded by military research.
This is true. This is true.
Including Jeep Grand Cherokee.
I like the idea of welcome to the Army. Here are the keys to your government-issued Jeep Grand Cherokee. Yeah. So it pulls them up, and yeah, I think something you were saying, Reed, that's exactly right. Is throughout the whole movie, one of the things that really makes this movie just kind of wash over you is nobody ever gets too much of a ride. I mean, that is, I guess, the thing you were talking about, Listman, that the annoying fat sidekick, as awful as he is at least like some high level of reaction to something.
Yes, he is reacting to the crazy shit that's happening. Everybody else is so non-phased by giant genetically modified like super soldiers.
That's the thing where it's like Jack Carver is a special forces guy, so okay, maybe he's not gonna get his pulse racing with the individual action stuff like that, but once literal science created monsters are in front of him, you'd expect something, but it's still just more like He just goes to fight the thing later. He's just like, all right, another thing to kill.
Yeah, well, he saw similar stuff in Desert Storm, so I think
they had those in Desert Storm, right? That was a Gulf War thing, militarized, genetically altered super soldiers.
I think Saddam had access to that
raptors.
kind of technology.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Raptors
what it
with
was,
guns.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is nothing. I fought raptors. So yeah, I think that's the thing, because they get lifted up by this helicopter then,
Yes.
and neither one of them is doing anything other than like, look at
Their car is on fire.
Yeah.
They're being lifted up by a helicopter over a lake. They're still being shot at, and they still are not super bothered by their current circumstances, which seem pretty grim at
And
this
then
point.
the car ends up falling into the water, which is where they got wet for that scene. Then when it goes to the next morning, though, talk about more nonplussed. Uwe Boll, here's an example of Uwe Boll being a bad acting director. When Till Schweiger's just walking with his hands in his pants, like in his pockets, and he's just kind of casually walking down this mysterious island the next morning, I'm going like, that's way too casual for this life or death situation. He's just like,
Yes.
But
They're having a post-coital, cute conversation.
I
So
guess,
they
They're
yeah.
have
looking
to-
for a coffee shop for them to really kind of connect with and see where the other person's at. Do they want to talk anymore? Was this a one-night thing, or
or is it going to be a bigger thing?
So,
They want to see where this is going to go.
So what are you looking for out of this? You're looking for like a relationship? This is, I've been hurt before.
I used to have a boat, but after last night, I don't have a boat anymore. So, can I stay with you for like a little
You
bit?
owe
I
me a
really don't
boat.
have a house.
Oh, that's always what you want. The one night stand that turns into, I kind of don't have anywhere to stay, so maybe I can crash here for, oh boy. No, it's just, later they will actually have coffee at the end of the movie that felt also, even by the end of it, I'm like, this is so casual for this film. Even after all this stuff. But yeah, they end up, is this where they end up taking the car from the other guys, which includes more hilarious bits. When he tells the guy to strip and he's like, no, I was talking to her. And the guy's like, what? The soldier. And then he goes, oh, you wish. Oh, you wanted to see her with her clothes off. I totally got you. Brilliant.
I really wanted him to say bro.
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 Wir hit a party, bro. Yeah.
He does. He has that vibe. There is something. It's so interesting because in Inglourious Bastards, he's so fucking badass in that movie. I mean, of course, you're dealing with an infinitely better script and an infinitely better writer, but it's just so interesting that like just a couple clicks away is this kind of like casual Till Schweiger going, we're having a Far Cry adventure. And then Stieglitz is so steely and intense in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, and unhinged.
He's the psycho on the team.
Wound so tight he's bound to snap.
Yeah. Say a Wiedersehen to your nutsack. All right.
To your Nazi balls.
Is it Nazi balls? Yeah. I mean, that's that. Yeah, he's awesome in that. He's the Nazi who turned on his own people and started killing them. Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting that like a year later he gets a way better part. But it's just so everything here is everybody's just like, oh, super soldier, sure, yeah, everybody,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you got the
2
guy.
out of 10, huh?
It is amazing that in that same vein that you can get something so not even subdued in terms of performance in Far Cry, but something that's just he's not there. There's nothing there from this character, from this script. It is so pedestrian.
Yeah.
And then when you take the time to craft something that is worth a person's investment, you get something like Inglourious Bastards, where everyone is giving 110%.
Well, because it's so interesting for him being the main character of this movie. He's so thinly sketched. And then he's a real side character in Bastards. And yet there's so much more life and personality and character. It just goes to show that it's a thing. It's not even about quality. It really is about attention to detail in the filmmaking. It's not just like, because when we're talking about this movie being competently made, in that, like, I always go back to like, it's in focus and things stay in the frame and I can understand it, but there's no next step beyond like, well, who is this? What are we doing? How can I move the camera in any kind of way other than just to go like, boat's going real fast and there it goes across the screen, like
what are the characters given circumstances in each scene? Like, they are in a life or death situation. Why are they not behaving that way? It's like, because the director has no like general sense of how to direct actors. Is really what it is.
Well, how about?
I don't think any of the actors have any reason to do a lot of work on this film, because clearly that's not the goal here.
Like a lot of the movies we watch on, like a lot of the movies that we watch on here, Listman, it is sort of like, we almost are always like, I don't really feel comfortable saying whether or not anyone in this is a good or bad actor, because how could anyone do anything? Even, you just can't with these scripts and the directors.
It's great when people do,
sometimes,
despite how bad the scripts
sometimes
are.
Your Nicolas Cages of the world will bring their A game every single day, no matter what, and we'll give it as all. I mean, sometimes we go like, you don't even have to, guys. You're trying too hard for what this movie is. You're putting too much work in. I laughed really hard at this sequence where they sneak into the compound and he has her hide under a tarp with some barrels, and then they instantly spot her on the security cameras.
Yeah, he didn't notice that there's a camera pointed directly at where he was hiding.
Literally,
it's like, wow,
he goes, you hide under here, and then the bad guys leave security camera going, who's that?
The guards come up immediately, which is very funny. That is unintentionally funny, but it is very good comedic timing how quickly they find her.
Yeah.
Again, she can't do anything.
No,
she has to just be an object that is
she doesn't like
one.
She doesn't like when they catch her. A thing you could have done is have her try to like talk her way out of it or something. No, she just gives up instantly and she's captured.
Exactly.
No, nothing for this character to do.
Yes,
but this will introduce us to everybody's favorite fat guy's sidekick, Emilio.
Hey, it's Emilio,
played by Chris Coppola. I don't think he has any relation to the Coppola family.
Just about to say, yeah.
What if he does? Let's do some digging.
He does.
I'm gonna do some digging.
Do some digging. There's nothing on his IMDb, and I feel like he would be announcing that to the world. But you never know.
In the CG Beowulf film and the Polar Express.
You mean Beowulf?
So.
I've long been obsessed with the way Ray Winstone really swallowed that. I am Beowulf. Beowulf. Yeah, you're like, what? We didn't do another take on that? That was weird.
It's the name of the movie. We should probably say it correctly.
He was on Barry this last season. He's in an episode of Barry, which is one of my absolute favorite shows.
Oh, weird.
I mean, he's in a lot of stuff. Weirdly. I mean, once again, he probably is a good actor. This character is horrible.
Terrible. It's I mean, honestly offensive.
It's pretty bad. Right away, we see, the second I saw him, I went, oh no. We got a big heavyset guy, and he's like, oh, my back hurts. And then he proceeds to basically make out with a meatball hoagie.
He calls it a meatball sandwich, but let's be honest, it's not a meatball. It honestly looked like it was two slices. It was two baguettes put together.
Yeah, they did
nothing in the middle.
That also speaks to a lack of detail on props.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah,
They literally call it a meatball sandwich later, and it's like, that had turkey on it at best, but I don't even think it had that.
But he walks over because he's like, "Oh, my back hurts. I'm gonna take a break." And then I'm like, "Oh, here it comes. Here it comes." And he goes out and he pulls out the sandwich. Goes, "I've been thinking about you all day."
God,
it's amazing that like the rule is show don't tell your audience, and they show us the wrong thing and tell us it's a different thing. It's like, they're pretty amazing. Very bold choice to just basically call your audience just like, no, that was something else. You didn't see correctly.
It's a whole new process. That's not show don't tell. We call it show and tell.
Show and tell. Yes.
Show and tell storytelling. It's bold. It's Uwe Boll. He's an innovator, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, this leads into I'm like, oh God, he's gonna be with this guy for the rest of the movie, isn't he? At a certain point.
Is Emilio part of a catering service for the island? I'm confused.
Yeah.
Why is he on the island?
Well, he says he's the food guy.
But why would a secret military base that's doing illegal experiments have other people come in and deliver food and not like have that be military people? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. If they're trying to keep their base top secret, why just have DoorDash delivery drivers coming up to your island and dropping off food? I don't fully understand the logic there.
There isn't one.
Okay.
Based on the way that the rest of this film is written,
yeah.
Logic? No. He's the food guy.
Yeah.
He's the food guy. We know this. Okay,
yeah.
So we have his motivation. He's the food guy. He delivers food.
And you know he's
he
the
also
food guy.
Loves food.
You know he's the food guy because he keeps saying he's the food guy, like, a lot.
Does remind us a lot, yeah. Which is great because I have bad short-term memory, so it's nice to be reminded.
Yeah, I just kept going. Yeah. Oh, right, the food guy.
How could I forget?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering how they were getting food out to this island. I was really concerned about it. Thank God.
Well, maybe he's the new food guy because their helicopter's obviously been destroyed. And that was probably the way in which they were delivering food back and forth.
There you go. Yeah. So we got to bring in Emilio on the boat that, of course, Jack Carver steals so there can be a pretty lame boat chase. I mean, it's not very... One thing, it's just not very... I love where they go, we've got him cornered now, but you clearly see the ramp that's there, and you're like, well, obviously he's going to go over that ramp. And then they're like, why was that ramp there? Yeah, why is that ramp there?
I'm also fairly certain there's enough room on the side of that ramp to go past as well.
Certainly, you know, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, when they said that, I was like, what do you mean you've got him cornered now? He's right there. Like, we've got him now. And so, yeah, he jumps the ramp.
And is immediately recaptured.
Yep.
Right? Like, there's people lined up on a bridge ready to just mow him down with large truck-mounted, like 50 cal machine guns and everything.
Well, that's the thing that's crazy about it. Like, it's just like, the movie keeps doing this where it's like, the big escape and... Oh, no, they got him again.
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Well, like, it keeps wanting you to raise the stakes, but the stakes were never there for our characters, and so I never feel like anything is ever at stake.
No, that's it exactly. And everyone is nonplussed, and everyone is just and everything is just like, oh, we're captured again. And also, there's sort of like, at a certain point, what do people want? I mean, like, what does I've forgotten her name, the reporter woman. What does she want exactly? Like, well, what she wants to figure out what's going on here. Valerie.
She wants to save her uncle. She feels some responsibility for convincing him.
At a certain point, that's what she wants. But she just goes out there to check things out initially, right?
Yes.
And then Jack Carver just wants off the island. But then at a certain point, his he's like, all right, well, I guess I'll save people and bring this all down. But you never feel the shifts, right? And like goals of characters. It's just kind of like, because his thing is like, we just got to get out of here. And she's like, no, I got to save my uncle. And then he just is like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll do that too.
Mm-hmm. And she didn't even really need to be a reporter because she's not taking down information. She's not writing anything.
There's no scene where she says to Udo Kier, like, the people are going to hear about this.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
No,
Or
go ahead.
maybe she records a conversation with him, to like help put him away. I'd do anything. Like, she needs to do anything. Yeah.
Because, we get her, now that she's captured, she's just going to hang out with Udo Kier, who's painting. That's the big thing, is he's painting, which is, there's nothing explored beyond that, though. Once again, you're going like, oh, that's just a thing for the bad guy to do. There's nothing about the
also don't show the painting. What the painting is not important. It's that he's painting over something.
Yeah, right. Which in my brain, eventually you're like, okay, well, I'll just scrape that off and figure out what was there, because boy, that would be difficult. But like that specific scene where the two of them are meeting, right, for the first time, and she's got like a bloody lip, and I don't know if it's just me, but like that's the grossest thing that happens in this entire movie. Not the gore or anything. It's the fact that he takes a napkin, spits all over it, and then wipes the blood off of her face, like on her lips. And like, that is creepy and gross. Now you are a mad scientist, right there.
It's gross.
Nothing else.
You monster.
What added to the grossness was that it looked like marinara sauce. It didn't look like blood. It had like an orangey hue to it.
There's a lot of problems with the blood in this movie. I feel like you talked about it looking like paint earlier too.
Well, like, and that's the thing is now we know where the meatballs went from that meatball sub. Yeah,
that's who took my meatballs, and I just want my meatballs back, says Emilio.
Yeah.
Boy,
did you guys notice?
Yeah.
In the first scene with Emilio, that when the person comes up and points a gun at Emilio and the main character, Emilio's reaction is going for the sandwich.
Please, did you not the sandwich. Just leave the sandwich out of this.
No, that would have required me to pay attention. And I most certainly did not do any of that for this character, unfortunately.
You lost read it, remember.
That's a running thing for me in any sort of podcast. Hey, Reed, do you remember this thing? No, of course not. Definitely no.
Well, this movie's not really begging for your attention.
I was going to say, that's already a problem for you, Reed, and then this movie is also forgettable. So, really, you were done in on this one.
That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, just I actually envy you on that. Just wipe this out. Whoop is gone, man, because this, he does. And then they end up handcuffed together, Emilio and Jack, so you get the whole bit about them.
So funny.
Laughing my ass off. I had to have my ass put back on. I had laughed it off so much watching this.
Yeah, very serious procedure.
Really serious procedure.
John was in the ICU for at least
I appreciate
48 hours
you guys delaying the recording of this so they could reattach my ass. I just, my God, it never ends. And then when they get attacked, and every time Emilio went into like some kind of kung fu stance, ooh.
All right, okay, well, Kevin James, we get it.
The way in which they get undone, right, is the fact that she gives him back the universal handcuff key that he just so happened to have on him from a previous scene when she got captured, right, from the first car chase. And so she has given it back via a kiss, right, that takes 45 seconds. And he looks surprised. It's like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
Some of the best acting in the movie, honestly.
Well, and of course, who could forget that first scene when he had the universal handcuff key, because he hit one of his great one-liners for this movie when he says, "Never leave home without it," which is,
I guess that's a one-liner.
That's a reference to the 80s and early 90s American Express slogan. Which I mean is ubiquitous, I guess, but it is like, Jesus Christ. American Express.
I mean, in 2008, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, really hitting hard 20 years later.
Yeah, the next thing you know, there's a "Where's the beef" joke. My God,
Got milk?
time to make the donuts. We're doing all the bit. Then when he went, "What's up?" All the classics in this movie.
Yeah,
Really,
exactly.
I really enjoyed where he sat down and pretended to be a flattened out dead rat singing the Quiznos subs.
That was good. That was really good.
Yeah, I really.
When he sat down, when he hung out with the Budweiser frogs, that was really fun.
He was the it was Budweiser. Yeah. He. Jeez. Yeah, they really made a lot off of the promotion there. So yeah, but it doesn't. They free themselves, but only so Krieger can turn loose. Because the big thing he's done is Uncle Max. He's supposedly perfected the process now. The guy's got bulletproof skin, and he responds to commands.
Did you guys wonder how these bulletproof people were getting like IVs injected into their veins?
Yes, the scene when they kept injecting the guy with the sedative, I'm like, how are they getting that through his skin?
Literally can deflect bullets. This is
I also enjoyed the fact that the tube that they had was a clear tube that had liquid in it at some point, but is very obviously has nothing flowing through it at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah,
I just love the idea
attention
of,
to detail, man. It's so good.
Bullets.
I'm also curious as to why Max retains his hair while all the other ones have no hair at all.
True. Yeah, that is weird.
He's the perfected model,
He's beautiful.
And I found the way
1.0.
for him to have hair too, so it's going pretty well. There's just a base level German voice I give to everybody, I guess, which is great for the
Especially the villain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because 75% of this cast is German.
everyone is talking like this. But they. So he's perfected, but he goes. He's talking to Uncle Max. Dr. Krieger is, and he's like, execute them. And then Valerie gets on and is just like, no, Uncle Max, don't do it. And that's enough to confuse this thing, right? Like, what? I'm not sure what to do now.
Just as close as she gets to actually doing something useful. In the film.
But it's just like, what? Doesn't, so it'll take orders from anyone? Because I thought wouldn't you make it so it could only listen to Krieger or whoever?
I think so.
Instead, it's just like, no, if anyone yells at this thing, apparently it'll go, I do what now? I don't know.
There is an implied history here between these three characters,
yes.
And like that immediately comes up next, but at no point are we given an opportunity to explore that history other than the fact that we are told that it exists.
Right. We didn't mention that earlier, that the reason she specifically asked for Jack Carver to drive her out to the island is because he had served in the army with Uncle Max.
Right. That's so, like, you look away for 5 seconds and you miss that fact.
Yes.
So understated.
Yes, absolutely. But the thing that I think is so interesting about the Uncle Max thing is it's so obvious where it's going, right? That his human side is going to break through the programming. But there's no even like moment when he's just a mindless killing machine. He goes pretty quickly to being like, oh, I don't know. Like there's no, where's the scene where it's like, no, please, I'm your friend. Don't you remember? It's all just
that's
like,
what this scene is supposed to be.
But he's pretty instantly conflicted. Yeah. Like we don't see that switch. They once again they kind of tell us that switch happens.
Well, there is a moment where he wakes up originally, right, newly converted into this super soldier, and is looking at his hands, and it is very obvious that he is already conflicted about this.
Right.
So this moment happening is not adding anything new for the audience member. You're just like, oh yeah, we're at the exact same point he was several hours ago. Nothing new has happened to make him just be fully obedient. Right?
Well, that's the kind of the whole movie is that, right? Like it's all just like they're thinking this thing, and now we want them to do this. There's no like progression of an arc where they're sort of going through the middle section of playing that. It's just like, I'm this, now I'm this. I want to leave the island, now I want to save everybody. And there's really nothing that motivates any of that.
But see, that would require them to film additional scenes for this, and I don't know if they were like we don't have time. We didn't write that out, so we didn't budget for these extra scenes. So
well,
it can't be any more than 90 minutes. Can't be any more than 90 minutes.
Honestly, thankfully, it's only 90 minutes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's one of its
and it actually
selling
so
points.
it clocks in at 95 minutes, and I looked at the clock. There's 9 minutes of credits. That's Jesus. A lot. That's like more than a Marvel movie has, which infinitely more people work on those than work on this.
Yeah.
It's something we've talked about a lot on this show. They will often, these movies will slow down credits to make the run times longer. Because it adds more legitimacy if it says like 95 instead of, 87 or whatever.
Yeah.
Something about being that over 90 makes you seem more like a movie. It's a weird thing they do. Anyway, let's get to the end of this thing, which is, of course, all the mutant soldiers get out and run amok. And yes, this is where we get to the lumber mill fight, because you have to. Do we have that? Is that on? I forget. We've done the show long enough. I actually forget what's actually on the action shelf bingo. We do have fight in an industrial setting, right? I think that is one of the squares.
Believe so. I believe so. I can't.
You can mark that off on action shelf bingo. Which we do encourage people to play. But Lisman, you can speak from experience. Careful if there's alcohol involved, right?
Yes, it can be quite potent that way. A lot of.
But yes. So enjoy action shelf bingo responsibly. But yes, you do have to have this, which involves a run up the conveyor belts and everything, and does lead to the only other time they really get into the gore of the movie, and I did enjoy quite a bit, although it makes no sense because of the aforementioned bulletproof skin. That one of these mutant guys is chasing Jack, and he brings down a giant industrial saw blade and slices him in half.
So the mechanic, he puts his hand into a laser sensor, and that activates. So what is the function of this device that he's?
Well, it seems like it's incredibly dangerous, right?
Well, right. You insert the log, and once it hits the laser, obviously there's a length in there past the saw, in which that now fits the parameters for this log that we're going to cut. We need to cut it and do the next one.
But it also seems like there should be some sort of stopping mechanism so this doesn't happen to people working on the thing.
Well, they're on a secret military island, John.
But whatever.
Safety is being discarded here.
Back to the thing
about...
Can't
be that secret if the lumber mill is actively on and functioning.
It's functioning,
right? People are working here. We've met other characters that are walking around in lumber mill attire that are just like, hey, the commandant or whatever is going to be unhappy if we're not doing stuff. And like, but these characters don't fit the attire of either one of these like military entities.
So they're civilians.
They have to be working here, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they have to be working here on this island. So this island is shared by this secret military lab, also a lumber mill. So they couldn't quite afford the whole island, so they just went with half. You're like, don't ask, don't tell policy on what's going on the military side. But
so this thing gets cut in half once again, despite the fact it has.
It's bulletproof,
seemingly indestructible skin, but still pretty cool. A guy got cut in half.
Yeah, we do love to see it.
Take what joys you can from this movie.
Go ahead, Reed.
I was gonna say the line that just comes right after it is so unwarranted. Of just asshole.
Yeah.
Where
was that?
Why?
Where's the one-liner we want?
It's The writers did not have the energy to write a one-liner.
Come on, give me a too slow by half.
It's anything.
That's off the top of my head.
You couldn't cut it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't cut it. Yeah, there you go. I always said two are better than one. something, anything. I don't know. Literally.
Half the man you used to be.
There you go.
2 for 1 special.
That's good.
Anyway.
Look at that was quick. And this movie, I hate that. I hate when these movies just do like asshole or fuck you or something like that. And you're just like, that's not, this is a dumb action movie. Be a dumb action movie.
Yes, yeah. Well, there is kind of a one-liner that Emilio gives out that I had to write down because it was so fucking stupid.
What is he
so
say?
when these super soldiers start popping out of the woodworks, he says they must do a lot of humping here because these guys breed like rabbits.
That's horrible. That is just horrible.
Can we just sit in that for a little bit? Let's just stew in.
Somebody put that in a script and said, "Yeah, that should be in a movie." Oof.
Question: did we? And this is I don't remember, but were all of the super soldiers all men?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think almost all of them are like general white dudes, and there is one that is not right, and immediately gets just like shot by leader.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's the only one that has the ability to shoot people correctly.
Well, I love the scene.
They're all trained and know how to kill.
I love the scene where Leader meets Jack, and he's like, "Okay, man, where do you want to go? He's probably in the main thing, which is 2 floors down, and here's a gun. Oh, and another thing, remember to aim for the eyes of the mouth." It's just like, this scene is going on so long for like a pause mid-chase to go like, here's all the things you need to do, man. You gotta run do this.
down
Yeah, you got to know over there. It's the thing that drives us insane over on Meet the Monsters about any time they're like, here's how you kill a vampire. It's like, we've seen the other, okay, yeah, but we're got to stop the movie and go, hey, you got to stay in the heart. It's just going like, oh my God. That's very video game-y in a negative way, though, where you're going like, yeah, it's like as a movie, you don't stop the film and go, here's what you need to know.
Shoot the weak points for massive damage.
Right, exactly. So we get Uncle Max. Oh, because we get this hostage standoff where Carver has a gun on Dr. Krieger, and the female henchwoman is
Echnev or something.
Katya, or Katya Chernov is the character's name.
Chernov is what it was.
Yeah, Chernov. It had to be something Russian or German or something, obviously to be evil. Don't trust those Europeans, kids. But they have to. So she's got a knife to Valerie's throat, and it's this hostage standoff until here comes Uncle Max.
Yeah, saving the day.
And he's clobbering people, and he does pick up like a 2x4 piece of lumber and hurl it into a guy's face, which I did kind of enjoy.
That was good, yeah.
I will say this, that there are moments of action between the super soldiers, it just kicking the shit out of the main like forces that look decent. They're decent. Yeah. I go like, oh, that was kind of cool. And then it's immediately undercut by something that is just like,
because
you should have looked at that a bit longer.
There's some satisfying moments of just like hurling a guy to the side and stuff like that. But yeah, it also makes you go like, oh man, imagine if like a good director with some actual money put this together and did something like that. Then you get the movie
I think the other thing is that the cool moments don't happen from our protagonist.
No,
right? They're the villains, and you go, oh, that was pretty dope. That was sweet.
That's
that was cool and
true.
Fun.
At a certain point, it is just the super soldiers that are fighting people, and Jack Carver's kind of just running around.
There's a sequence in the lab where Jack Carver is doing a lot of flips around.
Yes, he does. He does like he leaps up onto like a medical cart and then does a backflip off of it over a guy.
It's very clearly a stunt double.
It is very quickly cut between all of that to hide everything possible.
Yes, it is. It's the. Have you guys seen the?
All of the action sequences are like that. Really,
they really are.
A lot of
they're very
around.
They're very choppy. When we always talk about this, like you can use that effectively. Movies like the Bourne films use choppy action really purposefully, but this is all like, yeah, you're hiding seams is what you're trying to do.
Yes.
You're not.
Yes. Well, this
doing
is kind of in the thick of being like action movies being inspired by the Bourne franchise.
Yeah, I think Ultimatum was the year before this. I think that was summer 07. So yeah, you're right on the and we saw, like so many things, we saw a lot of shitty Bourne imitators, much like we see so many shitty John Wick imitators now, right? Like there's always kind of like the one action movie that actually does something new and unique, and then everybody rips it off until somebody else comes. And that movie usually has Keanu Reeves. I think we've discovered the
yeah, because everybody was
ripoffs.
doing bullet time after the Matrix.
The Matrix ripoffs were, my God, every movie, regardless of whatever, had bullet time sequences. We were going like, I'm sorry, does the John Travolta thriller Swordfish need a bullet time scene in it?
I think so.
It's got one.
So.
You know, was everything was like that. So eventually we land. Here's the thing that's interesting to me. So Chernov shoots Uncle Max in the eye, which seemingly should kill him, but it doesn't kill him instantly.
Well, there's still a little bit of plot that needs to happen with this character,
so that he can stab Chernov.
Yes, I guess.
Well, he doesn't just stab Chernov. Gives him the old, hey, what's behind you? Neck snapping.
Oh, that's what it is. It's a neck snap. That's what it is. Chernov stabs Leader. Is that who? Somebody ends up getting it's like a front and back throat slash.
Oh yeah, and that PSI on that blood spatter is real high because it is shooting out of his neck like a super soaker.
That's the kind of stuff we used to do back in high school in our movies, man. We loved some arterial spray like that and stuff. And that's right. That's what it was. I confused those two, but he gets a neck snap. And then, does Krieger get defeated by Jack Carver? No, he just takes off in a boat as all the mutants sort of swarm him. And then, what becomes of this island?
Oh, it's a big, beefy albino island.
That's what I mean, though. But so, somewhere in Canada, there's an island full of super soldiers.
And again, this is an island in the middle of a river, at least as far as it looks. So they don't have to even swim very far. I assume they can swim because they're super soldiers.
And so shouldn't that be like some sort of horrific incident that happens after this where they like take over a town?
No.
Well, here's some fun plot that doesn't exist. Is that super strong skin makes them unable to swim because they're far too dense now. And so it's the perfect place to keep all of them, so they can't swim across.
I like it.
Yeah, just have a line that gives lip service to that.
Yeah,
at the very least, but they don't. Yeah,
that took 2 of my 3 brain cells to come up with that.
This is always the thing we bring up on the show. Listman and I are always like trying to, they should do this, they should do that. And we always state, like, we're not saying we're like genius storytellers. We're just putting some thought into it. It's amazing how empty the thinking in these movies are. It is just like, I really do think they just type until they hit 90 pages and go, good enough. Yep, it's a movie.
He's a one and done draft kind of writer,
Yeah.
Draft? No.
This is they shoot draft number 1.
Yeah,
exactly. They as soon as this thing prints out, they're filming. And so I guess everything's safe, and we cut to some amount of time later, and we're in some city. Once again, everything's very vague, and Jack has a new boat that, of course, he's hired Emilio as his deckhand, and he's a pretty good cook, too, because he's fat and loves food. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid we burn the skewers again.
Oh, God, yeah, that whole bit at the beginning is like, oh, the fish, it's too burnt. Can't eat it.
Yeah, very funny. I can't believe we forgot to talk about it because I literally busted a gut.
And then and then you had to go to the hospital. We were both briefly hospitalized after watching this movie.
We were in a hospital room together.
And they were like, oh,
did you watch the Far Cry movie?
It happened again. We got another Far Cry related incident. And then, boy, if this opened everything up. We burst all our stitches here because here comes the couple from the beginning. They're now on the new boat going, hey, Carver, how about them whales?
Womp, womp, womp.
Womp, 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 wow. And then he goes, "You take this one, Emilio. I'm taking the day off." And then we have to get some butt rock for the end of it. Directed by Uwe Boll.
I mean,
You have gunmetal text.
Did y'all catch the dead cat Mike sound guy on the boat, just like right next to the couple? Just like, oh, that's fun.
Oh, that's really, that's always good when you're able to see the mic and. I got it. We're getting the sound. Don't worry.
Sure you got the sound? Because I'm pretty sure half this movie was ADR'd.
A lot of it was. And it really, it's that, man, if you don't have the money to do ADR, boy, does it show. It's all and even sometimes big studio movies, you can tell like ADR'd. But a movie at this level is always like, that just sounds weird, man. Suddenly you're inside when you're supposed to be outside. Anyway, that's Far Cry. It's not good. But Listman, is it better than Double Dragon? Which we did last week.
It's less weird.
It's less weird, but that's why I think I kind of like Double Dragon more, actually. Double Dragon I found more entertaining because it's insane. There's nothing.
Double Dragon was also more horrifying than
it's true. This movie's just... I agree. I think you mentioned that right at the top, Reed. This movie is just so... rote and bland and just it's just not very interesting.
It tries absolutely nothing. It's not interested in trying anything camera character wise. Nothing. It does not have time for that, both on like a I'm sure budget and production wise,
not an ounce of ambition.
There's nothing going for this movie, but there's like at the same time there's nothing really abysmal about it either.
No.
It's just so bland.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's hard to get too worked up either way about it. I mean, there are moments that are stupider than others and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just anyway. Do we even need to? I don't think we even need to talk about one-liners, Listman.
No,
I wrote some down, but I don't. They're pretty bland and forgettable. We don't even need to bother with it. But
they're not coming back up.
Best kill of the movie's got to go to guy getting sawed in half, right? Is there even a runner-up? That throat stabbing, maybe just for pure arterial spray.
Sure, yeah, but
no.
A full-on cut in half is
pretty good, man. And this is we had a lumber mill death last year too, though that was lengthwise, not sideways. We had a guy go down the thing the other way. So that was pretty good, and pray for death. Well, we were pretty rough on this movie, but some people, believe it or not, are fans of this movie. And as you know, it is my sacred duty to find the strangest, most misguided IMDb reviews. And here comes one from this comes from IMDb user Donuel. And the review is titled "Great Action Flick with Humor Throughout." I can't believe some of the bad reviews of this flick. Who cares if it isn't your idea of the game? Rate it as a movie. As a movie, it has great action scenes, a very good cast that works well together, and decent dialogue. Unlike many of the action flicks of late, this thing has characters with actual personalities. The two leads work well together and have some on-screen chemistry. Now, I don't know anything about the game this is based off of, and I don't care. What does concern me is the quality of the movie, which was excellent. It's nice to see a movie where the characters are interacting with each other instead of spitting lame lines at one another. 10 out of 10 stars.
I mean,
they reviewed
sure
this
we just
movie?
found Uwe Boll's IMDb account.
Yeah. I think Daniel might be Uwe Boll. I like this because this is the. Did they see this film? Yeah, it's literally
the film they saw?
The exact opposite of everything we've just said for the last 2 hours. Like, it's I don't know. That person is insane. They need to see more movies if they think this is good.
I think so.
But somebody else, Listman, also saw this movie. It's time for a word from our favorite Amazon user, Bruce Winning. Reed, I don't know if you know about Bruce Winning.
I don't know, Bruce.
Bruce is an Amazon review expert. He's reviewed over 1,500 movies on Amazon, and we love to check in with him every week to see what he thinks of the movies we're watching.
It's a very specific writing style that I hope this review will.
Specific writing style for another segment of The Winning Opinion. All right, so this is Bruce's review of Far Cry. Here's what he says. I like 16:9, but I wish it was 5.1 surround sound. I like the action and violence. I don't prefer science fiction, but the action and violence compensated for this. I like the punching and kicking. I like the shooting. There is plenty. I like the explosions. There is plenty of that, too. 5 out of 5 stars.
Classic
Bruce, man.
I like the punching. I like the kicking.
Bruce
I like
loves
the violence.
Punching and kicking and violence. And he does love a movie in 16:9 and 5.1, if he can get it.
You know this. Yeah, exactly.
Those are his preferred tech specs. Well, another thing we do on the show, Reed, is we fire up our patent pending action movie title generator and try to come up with something better than the movie we just watched. So, Lisbon, what do you think? Do you think we should try to come up with a sequel to this, or what? How do you
think so? Yeah,
yeah.
It could be removed from what the actual Far Cry 2.
Yeah, the actual game is. So I'm going to fire up the action movie title generator here, and it will give us a subtitle, we'll say, for the this will be Far Cry : here it comes, and it's called Far Cry: Foes and Slaves.
Foes and what?
Slaves. Foes and slaves.
Oh boy! So this is dealing with human trafficking and the slave trade. Is that what?
Well, what if with the island full of super intelligent super soldiers or whatever, somebody gets their hands on that and is now trying to build a slave army of those things?
I mean, we did see that the good doctor was attempting to sell his ideas to somebody in, I think it was Hong Kong.
Yeah, it was Hong Kong. Yeah, so maybe that's the thing. Now a separatist group in China or whatever, some corrupt Chinese generals have managed to retrieve what was left over, and so those are the slaves. And because of this, the government now having maybe like the movie opens up on a battlefield and they're shooting at guys who just keep coming at them because they're bulletproof. And so the government goes, wait a minute, there was one man who fought these things before, and that man is Jack Carver. So they dispense government agent Eric Roberts, of course. It's our new rule this year that we have to find a role for Eric Roberts in every film. Eric Roberts is dispatched to retrieve Jack Carver from the wilds of Canada.
Okay, gotcha. And then those two are going to take on this this new. Is it a new locale? Perhaps should we put it in exotic location?
Let's put it in Asia, maybe.
By
way of Bulgaria. They'll shoot in Bulgaria, but tell you it's East Asia.
Right, exactly. The jungles of East Asia.
Are we moving from a lumber to a steel mill?
Ooh,
so really up in the ante.
Climax in the steel mill. So that means we can send a guy into like bubbling molten Terminator 2 style.
They tried to copy several scenes from Terminator and T2.
Let's do it, man.
Might as well. Let's actually just one for one it.
At the end of the movie, Eric Roberts has to sacrifice himself by slowly lowering into the molten lava. And he
was willing to go method and actually die in the filming.
Dude, the amount of movies that guy's in, he is determined to die on a set. We know that.
It's going to happen.
What does he do?
I don't know if it's going to happen before or after Tom Cruise dies on a movie set.
What did we figure out? He averages 30 films a year. Is that what it is, Eric Roberts?
That's correct.
He's in 30 an average of 30 movies a year. He's never not on a set.
I mean, Robert De Niro does a similar thing too. He's just like, I'm always doing stuff.
It is wild. He just goes from movie to movie. Yeah, these are guys who just don't want to do anything else. I can't blame them too much. Yeah, so that sends them to East. And of course, we'll just, befitting the whole attitude of this, we'll obviously just kick this female lead to the curb in favor of a new love interest for Jack Carver, who's a Chinese secret agent.
Sure, we'll
Get
say
some martial
yes.
arts in there too while we're at it. We'll get
why not?
a Hong Kong action star to play that part. There
yeah.
you go. And that they're the foes and the slaves. Oh, that's the foes are they have to work with the Chinese government, right? Who are frosty, but they both want to stop this slave army.
There's like a separatist. Yeah, there's like some sort of separatist movement or something.
Right. So we have
a warlord on an island. That's always a Far
we
Cry
have the
thing.
foes and slaves. Yeah. Who's the foe on the
yes.
island? What? Let's see. Can we get a Chinese
Great question.
act? I mean, I would love like a Sammo Hung.
Sammo Hung would be great.
Do we dip into W.S.
Young.
Anderson's like full like
Is,
posse of characters,
stable of
that he likes
actors?
to use? Yeah, because they're all. There's got to be some crossover there.
Because that's a whole other. Now his stuff is a little too big for the action shelf. We haven't gotten to one of his movies yet. Although we did briefly talk about doing Monster Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was, and I'm sure that will find its way into one of these. But yeah. Oh, who's in Mortal Kombat? Maybe we get that guy.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. We'll get Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, who plays. You've seen him in a million movies. He played Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. We'll get him.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Yeah,
there we go.
Works for me.
That's
Yes.
Far Cry:
Got it.
Foes and Slaves coming soon to a red box near you. Listman, next week on the show we continue Video Game Valentines for February here with a little motion picture called Wing Commander.
Wing Commander, which is not a current video game franchise, not a franchise that has had a game made in probably over it. Well, at this point, maybe 2 decades. But,
Yeah. Reed,
It is
we
a
were gonna have Reed on for that one, but we swapped it out because we will be having our good pal Mike Gergoni on, sort of a Star Warsy connection there. And of course, I do host a Star Wars show with him, so we'll talk about the Star Wars because I think I might have seen this movie when it came out, but it's out of my head. Because I would have watched anything set in space around this time. So I'm sure I did. I'm sure I watched. I'm sure this was a Blockbuster rental or something.
I mean, you got some good people in it, so
You got Freddie Prinze Jr.
You're in for a film.
When you've got Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard, who of course will go on to spearhead the Scooby-Doo franchise. I mean, does it get any better than that? Listman, as always, I will ask, would you like to hear the tagline for Wing Commander?
Sure.
At the edge of our universe, all hell is about to break loose. Wing Commander. That's probably promising too much.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll talk about Wing Commander next week with Mike Gergoni, who will have to endure that. Reed, always a pleasure. We'll definitely have you back. Great. Thanks
If
for
you're
joining us.
even, again, we totally expect you to never talk to us ever again. You know, so that makes.
I'll try my
believe.
best.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do some therapy with Reed to get our friendship back on track, and then we'll see if we can get him back on the show. But
we got a therapist on. We've got a therapist on call for.
We did. We work with a trauma specialist after this who works on this. No, of course.
Maybe we should. This should be some patron content. You know, the therapy sessions.
Therapy session. There you go.
To maintain our friendships.
Now you're talking. Yeah. We'll put in the recordings of the therapy sessions. Of course, you can hear Reed and Michael every week on Material Components, also on the Punch Up Entertainment Podcast Network. If you want to hear them playing, you guys don't play D&D. I always talk about this with Gergoni. It's a shorthand, colloquial catch-all that is D&D, but it's a live play role playing game that goes on over there at Material Components. So.
Yes, of Mike's own creation. It's a world and game system of Mike's creation.
So be sure to check that out and make sure you subscribe to that as well as this show and all the shows from Punch Up Entertainment. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of The Action Shelf. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Isman.
Till next week, get yourself some action.
The Action Show. Reaction Show.